Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Asta Tarashata Shishimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Shamaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the weekly Chaitanya Caritamrta class at Sri Sri Radha Kalachandjidam. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय श्री चैतन्य चरितामृता की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada. जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we read from Chaitanya Charitamrta. We're continuing. We're going to start chapter 11 today. The Bera Kirtana pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll read the summary that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives for every chapter. So the Amrita Pravaha Bhashya that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, he actually wrote it after a lot of struggle. He was not able to find a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was searching for it for a very long time. And then after he found the copy, he wrote the Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, which is basically a chapter summary of all the chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Prabhupada gives that in every chapter, a translation of his Bhashya commentary. So we'll do the Mangalacharan before that and then get started. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Saghrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. I lost the page. Okay, it's here. Okay, chapter 11. This is the Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes the 11th chapter in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya tried his best to arrange a meeting between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and King Prataparudra, the Lord flatly denied his request. At this time, Sri Ramananda Rai returned from his government post and he praised King Prataparudra highly in Lord Chaitanya's presence. Because of this, the Lord became a little soft. The king also made promises to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who hinted how the king might meet the Lord. During Anavasara, while Lord Jagannath was resting for 15 days, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being unable to see Lord Jagannath, went to Alalnath. Later, when the devotees from Bengal came to see him, he returned to Jagannath Puri. While Advaitacharya and other devotees were coming to Jagannath Puri, Swarup Damodar and Govinda, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's two personal assistants, went to receive all the devotees with garlands. From the roof of his palace, King Prataparudra could see all the devotees arriving. Gopinath Acharya stood on the roof with the king and, following Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's instructions, identified each and every devotee. The king discussed the devotees with Gopinath Acharya, and he mentioned that the devotees were accepting prasada without observing the regulative principles governing pilgrimages. They accepted prasada without having shaved, and they neglected to fast in holy place. Nonetheless, The king arranged residential quarters for all the devotees and saw to their prasada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked very happily with Vasudev Datta and other devotees. Haridas Thakur also came, and due to his humble and submissive attitude, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him a nice solitary place near the temple. After this, the Lord began performing Sankirtana, dividing all the devotees into four divisions. After Sankirtana, all the devotees left for their residential quarters. Such a packed summary. So Mahaprabhu has just come to Jagannath Puri after his South Indian travels. In the previous chapter we read, and now and also all the devotees, knowing that Mahaprabhu had come, have come to meet him also. And this chapter will describe build up to the Rath Yatra. We've already seen Bhaktivinoda Thakur mention the Anavasara period, where after Snan Yatra, Jagannath gets sick and he doesn't give darshan for 15 days, and eventually the Gundicha Marjan chapters will come, and the Rath Yatra pastimes will come. But this chapter mostly focuses on, the initial part focuses on the meeting between Prataparudra, King Prataparudra and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll start with text 1. So we'll just repeat text 1 and then just continue from there. Atyudhan Atyudhandam Tandavam Gaurachandra Kurvan Bhaktair Shri Jagannatha Gehe Nana Bhava Lankritanga Swadhamna Chakre Visham Prema Vanyani Magnam Atyudhandam Tandavam Gaurachandra Kurvan Bhaktai Shri Jagannatha Gehe Nana Bhava Lankritanga Swadhamna Chakre Visham Prema Vanyani Magnam. Please chant. Atyudhandam Chandra Kurvan Bhakta Shri Jagannatha Gehe Nana Bhava Lankritanga Swadhamna Chakre Vishwam Prema Vanyani Magnam. Anybody else want to chant? Atyudandam Tandavam Gaurachandra Kurvan Bhakta Shri Jagannatha Gehe Nana Bhava Lankritanga Swadhamna Chakre Vishwam Prema Vanyani Magnam. Atyudandam Tandavam Gaurachandra Kurvan Bhakta Shri Jagannatha Gehe Nana Bhava Lankritanga Swadhamna Chakre Vishwam Prema Vanyani Magnam. Atyuddandam Tandavam Gaurachandra Kurvan Bhaktai Shri Jagannatha Gehe. Nana Bhava Lankritanga Swadhamna Chakre Vishwam Prema Vanya Nimagnam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is the word for word. Ati, very much. Uddhandam, high jumping. Tandavam, very graceful dancing. Gaura Chandra, Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Kurvan, performing. Bhaktai, with the devotees. Sri Jagannatha Gehe, in the temple of Lord Jagannath. Nana Bhava Alankrita Anga, having many ecstatic symptoms manifested in his transcendental body. Swadhamna, by the influence of his ecstatic love. Chakre, made. Vishwam, the whole world. Prema Vanya Nimagnam, merged into the inundation of ecstatic love. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu merged the entire world into the ocean of ecstatic love by performing his beautiful dances within the temple of Jagannath. He danced exquisitely and jumped high. This word Tandava, you've heard before? In which context have you heard? Lord Shiva. And especially, at least in my memory, this Tandava is like a really intense dance, where he's doing it at the time of destruction. But then you see the exact opposite of how it is used here by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when and he's describing Mahaprabhu doing the Tandava, but Prabhupada translates Tandava as a very graceful dancing. So Mahaprabhu was doing this Tandava, but the word sounds, it's extreme. But then it was very graceful, Prabhupada says, the way he was dancing in front of Jagannath, and he drowned the entire world in ecstasy by his beautiful dancing in the temple of Jagannath Puri. So there's no purport, we'll continue. I'll read the text and we can take turns to read the translation. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Somebody wants to read the translation?
All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Sri Advaita Prabhu, and all glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Aradhina sarvabhama kahe prabhu stane abhaya dhana deha jadi kari nivedane.
The next day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya requested Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give him permission to submit a statement without fear.
So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knew that what he was going to ask might actually not be pleasing to Mahaprabhu. But then this is a good way of asking, I was thinking. When you are going to ask something that you know is going to upset somebody, you ask the other person, can you please give me the fearlessness to ask a question? That gives them a clue also, like it mentally prepares the other person to say, okay, this is something that I'm not going to like, but at least he has this courtesy to put this ahead of time and say, can you please give me this permission to submit a statement without fear? We'll see how Mahaprabhu tackles it. And this is also actually sometimes people do, but not in this way. But people will say, I'm going to say something, but you have to say yes. Have you heard that? At least the kids do it. I'm going to ask you something, you have to say yes. They won't tell you what it is, but they want a positive answer from you. प्रभु कहे कहा तुमी नाही किछु भया जोग्य हैले करिबा अयोग्य हैले नाया.
The Lord
Translation?
gave the Bhattacharya assurance that he could speak without fear, but added that if his statement were suitable, he would accept it, and if it were not, he would reject it.
Yes. So Mahaprabhu was very clear also. You may say whatever you have to say, but I will accept it only if it is proper, if it is suitable. He uses the word jogya in this word, right? Befitting. Okay, we'll see what Sarvabhauma says. Sarvabhauma kahe pratapa rudra raya utkhanta haiche toma mili bhare chaya.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, "There is a king named Prataparudra Rai. He is very anxious to meet you and he wants your permission."
Yeah, he's blurted it out now. Okay, finally, I've got the courage to say what I wanted to say. Karne hasta dhiya prabhu smare narayana sarvabhauma kaha kena ayogya vachana.
As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this proposal, he immediately covered his ears with his hands and said, "My dear Sarvabhauma, why are you requesting such an undesirable thing from me?"
Yeah. So he said, Mahaprabhu basically said, this is ayogya. This is not very befitting of what you are asking is not very befitting. But it's not there in the translation, but Prabhupada does it in the word for word. When Mahaprabhu heard something that's not befitting, he actually smare Narayana. He was remembering Narayana, which is something incredible, right? In the sense, if we don't want things that we don't like, our natural reaction is to fight against it. But Mahaprabhu's reaction was to think of Narayan, think of Krishna. And still he continued the conversation, but he first wanted to get that thing out of his mind and fill it up with Krishna before he could continue his conversation. Virakta sannyasi amar raja darshana stri darshana sama vishera bhakshana.
Since I am in the renounced order, it is dangerous for me to meet a king as to meet a woman. To meet either would just be just like drinking poison.
Yeah. So this is Mahaprabhu's rationale on why it's not so befitting. Mahaprabhu is saying, I am in the renounced order of life, and it's very dangerous for me to meet a king as similar as it is for a renounced person to meet a woman. And he's saying they're both just like drinking poison. And he'll say this again in the next verse. Nishkinchanasya bhagavad bhajanonmukasya param param jigamishor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishayinamatayošitam cha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshanatopya sadhu. It's not on. I don't think we'll have to mute it, right? We're just doing it. It's on. No? Oh, it's battery is dead. Okay. Should I read the translation? Okay. Greatly lamenting, the Lord then informed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification and seeing a woman who is similarly interested in and seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. In the previous verse, he compared it to drinking poison. This verse, he's notching it up a little bit more. He's saying it's more abominable than drinking poison. Prabhupada has a purport to this verse. This is a quotation from Sri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka 823. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enunciates the principles for a sannyasi renouncing the material world for spiritual advancement. Spiritual advancement is not meant for magic shows and jugglery, but for crossing the material world and being transferred to the spiritual world. Param param jigamisho means desiring to go to the other side of the material world. There is a river called Vaitarani, and on one side of this river is the material world, and on the other side is the spiritual world. Since the Vaitarani river is compared to a great ocean, it is named Bhavasagara, the ocean of repeated birth and death. Spiritual life aims at stopping this repetition of birth and death and entering into the spiritual world where one can live eternally, cognizant and blissful. Unfortunately, the great general populace does not know anything about spiritual life or the spiritual world. The spiritual world is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 8:20. Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Thus, there is a spiritual nature beyond this material world, and that spiritual nature exists eternally. Spiritual advancement means stopping material activities and entering into spiritual activities. This is the process of Bhakti Yoga. In the material world, the via media for sense gratification is mainly a woman. One who is seriously interested in spiritual life should strictly avoid women. A sannyasi should never see a man or a woman for material benefit. In addition, talks with materialistic men and women are also dangerous, and they are compared to drinking poison. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict on this point. He therefore refused to see King Prataparudra, who was naturally always engaged in political and economic affairs. The Lord even refused to see the king, despite the request of a personality like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the Lord's intimate friend and devotee. This section, actually Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has asked Mahaprabhu to meet another person. You know who that person was? Huh? Yeah, Ramanand Rai, right? When Mahaprabhu was starting his South Indian travel, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, Mahaprabhu, there is a devotee there and you should meet him. And Mahaprabhu accepted it. And Ramananda Rai was also a governor, right? He was also in a position of great materialistic opulence and power and wealth. And then you completely contrast here where it is the same person asking Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, is saying, there is another devotee I want you to meet. And actually he doesn't say, I want you to meet. In this case, he says, that devotee wants to meet you. This is King Prataparudra. And then we can see how Mahaprabhu is dealing with it. In this case, he's saying it's a strong no. I just cannot meet him. And he escalates it so much to say this is more abominable to me than drinking poison to meet King Prataparudra. And Prabhupada illuminates a little bit for us in this purport. He'll do that in the following purports as well. But in this purport, he's choosing to focus on why we practice devotional service. Especially for somebody who has taken up the renounced order of life, they're firmly committed to this path. Right? They've seen this world, they've seen that there is nothing in this world that they can gain from. And they've realized that renouncing this world and focusing on something greater is what they want to do in their life. And they've committed themselves to this path. It's just not talk at this point. When you're in the renounced order of life, you've really committed to this path with some amount of realization about this world. And therefore, such a person is really careful about what can trip their progress in spiritual life. Such a person is not an ordinary person. Somebody who is actually committed to the renounced order of life is somebody who is very determined to say that this is the path I want to follow and I will not let anything else deter me from progressing in this path. And there are certain safeguards that the Shastra recommends for such a renounced person. And the safeguards are Dhanam, Janam and Sundarim. that Mahaprabhu says, right? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamin. And also poetic words that automatically comes along with such a position, because when you're naturally in a renounced position, people are looking up to you and glorifying you. And I was remembering tomorrow my spiritual master Hanumat Preshaka Swami will be visiting Dallas, and we'll be celebrating his Vyasa Puja in the evening. And this goes for all Vyasa Pujas. Somebody who's sitting there and listening how amazing and great that person is for hours together. People are glorifying him so much. From the person who's glorifying, it's coming from a place of gratitude, saying they've made a change in their life. They've really impacted them in their life, in their progress of devotional service, etc. But for the person who's sitting and hearing it, it's actually a very difficult thing to do. Oh, you're so great, you do this, you that. So they have to take it from the right perspective. It's very important that they have this right mood when kavitam va, when people are really poetically glorifying you. But the beginning is dhanam, janam and sundarim, which is where the king is completely surrounded by, right? He's completely surrounded by great economic wealth, incredible wealth actually. And dhanam, janam, so many people at his command. At the click of a finger, you have so many people come and do whatever you want to do. Most people are yes men. They'll say what you're saying is true. And then beautiful women, of course. And this is where Rishabh Dev says the beginning of material life begins, right? What is that verse? Pumsa Sriya Maithuni Bhavameta, right? And then it goes to Janasya Mohoyam Aham Mameti. But the initial materialistic life for all of us begins with that attraction between a man and a woman. And that in turn starts building up more, right? When a man and a woman meet, then there is house and there is wealth and there is children, and then it becomes about my house, my car, my wife, my husband, my children. The life completely surrounds about me and mine. That's why he says Janasya Mohoyam Aham Mameti. This is how it naturally happens. So the sannyasi who has realized this, he's been in this world, right? He has been in this world, experienced all of this, and then finally realized, okay, this is where all of it starts. So I better stay away from these things that might detract me from spiritual life, and he does that. But this is a very rare quality, Prabhupada says, because Prabhupada is mentioning a verse from the Gita where Krishna is saying, oh, apart from this world, there is actually a spiritual world. But Prabhupada says, most people don't even know there is another world apart from this world. All of us are thinking this is the best place that we can be, this is where we can get enjoyment from. And we are functioning from that perspective, which is why you can see how rare this position is of actually knowing there is something apart from this world where we can where there is never destruction. This is what Prabhupada says, right? Which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is completely apart and it is never annihilated. It remains completely as it is when this world is annihilated. So when such a person is now being asked, so I'm giving this context just to give an environment of what Mahaprabhu's circumstances are. And he has completely realized this and has taken up this renounced order, and now there is something that's coming in his way that will block his progress in devotional service. And Mahaprabhu, we know, is Krishna himself. So for him, there is nothing that can block his hindrance. But in this incarnation, Mahaprabhu is there as a devotee, teaching us how we should practice devotional service. And he has to set the gold standard. There is nothing, no fault. He says, in a white cloth, you see a black dot, you only see the black dot. You don't see everything else amazing that's there about the cloth. So Mahaprabhu is trying to set the best example that you can set of a renounced person, and being very harsh at this point actually, and saying, no, Prataparudra, although he's a devotee, but he's dealing with women and money and power and influence, and associating with him will actually be not good for me. This is not something that I should do. Therefore, what you're saying, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, is actually not so great. It's not yogya. I cannot really do it. And another thing I was thinking in this purport is, I don't know if it is Vaitarani. I don't know if it's a printing mistake. Because Prabhupada is mentioning in his purport, you can pull this verse also from Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. Evam swakarma patitam bhava vaitaranyam anyonya janma maranashana bhita bhitam pashyan janama swapara vigraha vaira metram hante tipara bhipara muda madhya. He says this in his prayers. He quotes this Vaitarani also. But Vaitarani there, Prabhupada translates it as the river between the material world and the, not the Bhuloka and the hellish planetary systems. Actually, the river between the material world and the spiritual world is Viraja. You cross the Viraja river and then you get to this, the Brahma Jyoti happens. No, you should check Vaitarani actually. Vaitarani? Because in other places he refers to this as Viraja. So I don't know in which way we can understand that. But that's another thing Prabhupada says here. There is this huge river, and this is something that all the acharyas say, that we have to cross the river of Viraja before we go to the spiritual world. Can you use a mic? That way everybody is able to hear.
I mean, I was hearing
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada, and he was
That's
saying
the verse.
Vaitaran means nescience, and that's the difference between material world and spiritual world.
That's a better understanding.
Then he says
actually.
Vaitarani. So that's how he was. I don't know,
So
it's
Vaitarani is the river of nescience. So in that
Nescience.
way, you have to cross the river of nescience to go from this material world to the spiritual world. Thank you for that. That makes it much better. Can you go to the word for word? Yeah, a river known as Vaitarani, which lies in front of the doorway of Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. Prabhupada translates here. But in this context of what Prabhupada is saying, that makes sense. What Anuradha Mataji was saying is that Prabhupada sometimes translates Vaitarani as also river of nescience. And this is the world of nescience, right? Ignorance. Material world is the world of ignorance. And we have to cross this world. And also he says how this is the Bhava Sagara. This is actually a very, very difficult thing to cross. And the only way to cross this is to take shelter of Krishna. There is no other way we can do it. Prabhupada also mentions this in his purport, right? Thus, there is a spiritual nature beyond this material world, and that spiritual nature exists eternally. Spiritual advancement means stopping material activities and entering into spiritual activities. This is the process of Bhakti Yoga. So there is no way we can cross the ocean of material world if we are still engaged in both. Oh, I'll still do things. Oh, I'm still in transition. The transition has to happen fast at some point if we are really sure about what we are doing. We cannot just keep dangling our feet in both the areas and think that we will make progress. And this is also something that Mahaprabhu is really emphasizing in this in this section, is that I'm very sure of what I want to do, and I'm very sure of things that will actually harm my progress. Therefore, I don't want anything to do with those that might... this is heavy determination, right? Utsaha nishayat dhairyat, Rupa Goswami says. Okay, initially we are very enthusiastic. Oh, I want to perform devotional service. But then there also has to be patience and determination. Without that, the enthusiasm fizzles away after a point. And in this case, Mahaprabhu is really determined to not meet him. We'll see how. Any questions or comments so far? Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Meet Ramananda Rai, but he didn't choose to meet the king.
Yeah,
Because even Ramananda Rai was, teaching the Devadasis
Yes.
to dance.
Yes. Actually, I was going to speculate, then I stopped.
Okay.
And I kind of hinted at it when I was speaking. In that case, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted him to meet. And in this case, Prataparudra wanted to meet Mahaprabhu. So I was thinking, in this case, Mahaprabhu really wanted to listen to what a devotee was saying in the sense. Okay, Sarvabhauma, he had just spoken with him. The context also was they had 7 days of this intense discussion that was happening, and finally Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became a devotee. He became so fanatic that he wanted to change the verse in the Bhagavatam word in the Bhagavatam, right? In Mukti Pada, he wanted to change Bhakti Pada and all of that. He saw that, and then he said, okay, I will meet this person. Because when he said that, he was saying it from a realization from himself, saying, I've met this devotee Ramananda Rai, and at that point I didn't realize who he was. He was really telling me about devotional service. I really didn't appreciate what he was saying. But now, after I've spoken with you, Mahaprabhu, I remember that devotee who had actually spoken to me about devotional service. So he was talking to him from that perspective, from his own state of personal realization, in an intense mood of devotional service, and saying, oh, I really should have been grateful to Ramananda Rai, but I was neglecting him as some sentimentalist. He's telling me all this, he doesn't know any Vedanta, he's just asking me to do devotional service. And then Mahaprabhu went and met him. And there is a deeper reason also of who Ramananda Rai was. In his eternal position, he is Vishaka Sakhi. He's an eternal associate of Srimati Radharani. So then they have a really deep relation. And in this case, my speculation is this is coming from Prataparudra. And the relation between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prataparudra is he is the priest, head priest in his court. So there is a conflict of interest also in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's and Prataparudra's relation. It's not as completely cut off as how Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was. He has a soft heart for King Prataparudra. So Mahaprabhu is saying, okay, you have a relationship with him, you're trying to push your case. This is not really good. Which is another thing that we should think of also, right? When we have access to somebody, somebody is listening to us, we pull other person in and try to put them in. But in the summary we read, when Ramananda Rai says, he softens a little. Because Ramananda Rai at this point is completely sold to Mahaprabhu. Where he has left his job of a governor, that conflict of interest is gone. He doesn't have to do it because he is his king. So it's coming from a different perspective. And saying, okay, he's completely resigned from his governorship and he's coming to stay with me because I asked him to do it. And then he's asking me something, and he's somebody who is at least, not in absolute terms, but closer to Mahaprabhu than Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, than Vishaka Sakhi is much closer to Srimati Radharani. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is Brihaspati? Is that his identity? Right? Brihaspati in his... Brihaspati, right? And Prataparudra, is he Kamsa in his previous incarnation? I think that could be one reason also. I don't know. Chand Kazi. Who was Prataparudra? Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma? Somebody who had in the Krishna Leela had offended and then had to redo things, I think. My memory might be completely off. So there are so many things that are happening, but the Acharyas have not explicit. Probably when we read the rest of it and when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya meets, King Prataparudra meets Mahaprabhu, he does meet Mahaprabhu, we know that, right? But he comes in a completely different avatar and then gets the association of Mahaprabhu. So at least that's my understanding. If somebody wants to add, they can add to what I was saying. Can you use the mic so that everybody, there are people listening? Yeah.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is right now, speaking for King Prataparudra. So who other people after Sarvabhauma?
We at least know Ramananda Rai did.
So in fact, even Ramananda Rai did actually.
Yeah. Once Ramananda Rai did, he became soft, and then he basically says, okay, get his son. It's as good as meeting the king. The son is said is a representative of the father, right? It comes from the father. So he comes and hugs his son and says, I've met him. But then again, I think Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya keeps trying. The other devotees also keep trying to get Prataparudra to meet him, because they know how much Prataparudra is yearning to meet and how genuine he was in his devotion to Mahaprabhu. He was so devoted that he even said, Ramananda Rai, you have retired, but I will still give you pension. Like the same amount that you're getting now, you don't have to work. Your work now is to actually serve Mahaprabhu. So in that way, Prataparudra was a very great devotee of the Lord, but it's a wonderful exposition of how a devotee waits to meet the Lord, despite so many troubling circumstances where the Lord himself is rejecting him. I don't want to meet you. and still he perseveres, and how the community of devotees are helping somebody who is actually being rejected by the Lord. This entire chapter is wonderful in that way for a community of devotees, because we see principles in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Bhagavatam has everything that we need. But Caitanya Caritamrta is a exposition of those principles. It's Bhagavatam in action. We can see how the principles in Bhagavatam are applied, and also it's very relevant to us because Bhagavatam might have happened in a previous yuga or like many millennia ago. We might not even be able to relate to a few things that Bhagavatam is saying, but this is 500 years back. These are people like us, right? We can easily relate to these circumstances. Few, not so much because times have changed, but most of the circumstances in Caitanya Caritamrta still apply to the times that we live in. The principle of a renounced person not meeting women, not meeting, not associating, Mahaprabhu says. It's a different thing, right? Not meeting and not associating are completely different things. Is still valid today on how Mahaprabhu did that then and how we can use that principle. So, I don't know the exact number of people who spoke about him, but devotees did recommend King Prataparudra. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Mr. Bhagwan Prabhu, you had something?
Ramananda Roy said that this material body is completely useless. The spirit soul doesn't need a material body. But how does a person, do things without having a material body? Like if the spirit soul wants, needs a material body to be able to, live their life and, fall in love and have a family, and then the family has a family.
Yeah.
And they need they go through so many, they enjoy so many different activities, and
that's the reason why we need it. Right? If we have to enjoy for ourselves, is the only reason we need the material body. We wouldn't have got the material body if we didn't have this tendency to enjoy. That's why he says it. Because in our actual identity as the spirit soul, we have a spiritual body, and that spiritual body is used completely in the engagement of Krishna's service. So at that point, we really don't need the material body. We have this material body essentially because we want to enjoy separate from Krishna for all the things that you said, we think will bring us happiness. But other than that, there is no use of this material body. The spirit soul is not dependent on this material body, let's put it that way. We are thinking we are dependent on this body to do things, but we don't need this body. We have a spiritual body. We've just left that out. Is that okay? Anything else? We have a few more minutes. Yes, Mataji. I'll come to you, Sam. Mataji, can you, Mishra Bhagwan Prabhu, can you give the mic to Mataji? I'll come to you after this, Sam.
Hi Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the nice class. I was just trying to relate with the incident that happened, and Mahaprabhu was like he didn't want to meet the king because he was a materialistic person. So how can we relate with that in our life? Because we have to meet so many materialistic people every day. We cannot deny meeting them.
Yes.
So like how do we protect ourselves?
Yeah. We have to be careful when we meet how we associate. This is the point. And Rupa Goswami gives us what a definition of association is. Association essentially means, we think association means all of us come together, stand in one place, and then we are associated with devotees and go. That's not what association is. Association means dhadati pratigrihnati guhyam akyati prichati bhungte bhojete cheva shadvidam priti lakshanam, Rupa Goswami says. These are 6 ways in which we associate that can deeply transfer consciousness. That's what association means. When we associate with people, the other person's consciousness transfers to us. So when we have sadhu sangha, when we are in the association of devotees, what it means is we have to hear from them. We have to share our hearts to them. This is the guhya makyati prichati, is the main way in which sadhu sangha happens. Apart from that, we give and receive gifts from the devotees, and we honor prasadam and we serve the devotees prasadam. So all these ways in which association actually happens. So of course we have to be in the outside world, but we have to give them association and not take association. This is where we have to be careful from. This is the position of a madhyamadhikari. Actually, we have to know where each person is in their progress of spiritual life, irrespective of who they are in the outside world, and then we associate with them accordingly. For a Kanishta Adhikari, he is very new to devotional service, and he thinks he is the greatest of among everybody, and it's him and Krishna. Oh, I know Krishna, and for him Krishna is only in the temple. Outside he goes, he doesn't have Krishna. This is a Kanishta Bhakta. But then when we practice devotional service, we progress to a place called Madhyamadhikari, where we are actually in love with Krishna. At this point, there is nobody else other than Krishna for me. And from that perspective, we associate with people around the world. So we make friends with devotees, where we can actually have these 6 kinds of loving exchanges. And then we preach to the innocent, where we see a person and we see that, oh, this person is innocent. This person can actually take what I'm giving. And then the Madhyamadhikari avoids the envious. All of this in respect to their love for Krishna. Not envious of you, but if they're envious of Krishna. If they are friendly with Krishna, then we make friends with them. So if we are seeing the outside world and we see that they are not so acceptable to God or Krishna consciousness, we stay away from them. We don't associate too much. Because if we are not strong enough, that consciousness can transfer to us. But we are not going to be isolated. We are a preaching movement, right? We are going to go out to the world and meet people, and then Mahaprabhu is expecting us, Jare deka tare kaha Krishna Upadesh. We have to say about Krishna to everybody that we meet. So in that perspective, we are not going to go to a cave. We will be in this world, we will meet people. But how we associate with them depends on us, right? We control that aspect. So that's how it happens. And if we are going to the outside world, we have to have a very deep sadhu sangha here, which actually will sustain us from not... Even with Mahaprabhu's presence, we saw how, what was his name? Kala Krishna Das was taken away by the Bhattataris. So it's very powerful. What you're saying is very true. The outside world and the external energy of Krishna is very powerful. Therefore, we need to have incredible sadhana, amazing sadhu sangha, in terms of hearing and discussing. That's what sadhu sangha essentially means. Then we can sustain the outside world. Some thoughts. Anything else? Sam, you wanted to say something?
I have a question to ask you. Do the Yamadus get people who blames God, especially the people and the patients in the mental hospital? Do the Yamadus get the patient soul and tortured for blaming God for being mentally ill or being in a mental hospital? Do the Yamadus get them?
Oh. It's actually a very complicated question. There is no one-to-one mapping of where Yamadutas might get you. But as long as you're saying Krishna's names, the Yamadutas can't get you. That's one thing that's for sure. Irrespective of which place you are in, you say the names of the Lord, there is no way the Yamadutas can catch you. Okay, we're out of time. We'll stop here then. Shri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I wanted to make this announcement before I forget. I did mention, but His Holiness Hanumat Preshaka Swami Maharaj is visiting. Visiting on Monday, tomorrow. So he'll be here till Wednesday. We'll have him give the Bhagavatam class on Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning. Monday evening, we have his Vyas Puja celebration in the temple. It starts at 5 o'clock. And then Tuesday evening, there is a home program in our house at 5:30. We'll have prasad, and 6:30 we'll have the class. So please come and take his association. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.